The Fitzy and Wippa podcast.
There is an amazing exhibition at the moment at the Powerhouse Museum. If you love your music, this man was a part of a musical revolution, and it was one of the biggest of all time when we think of grunge in the early 90s and what it did and changed the musical landscape.
Oh, yeah.
It is crazy. This guy was mixed up with that, very young, and got mixed up with some of the biggest bands in the world. His name is Steve Pavlovic. We know him as Pav. Welcome to the show.
This is really exciting. And as we were just saying off air, you know, a lot of the memorabilia that you actually managed to hold on to, what a lot of people don't, takes you straight back to those moments.
Absolutely, and I think part of it was I was so OCD, I couldn't stand a scene, look at anything around my apartment, so I just had this storage, and so I just throw it all back in there, so I didn't have to look at it.
Yeah.
And 30 years later, people are putting me in a museum.
It's crazy.
It's awesome.
So, Pav, you were like 19 years of age, and you saw a Sonic Youth gig, and it changed your life, and you said, I want to bring some of the biggest bands from America over to Australia, not knowing at the time, because I mean, that grunge era, those bands were popular, but it hadn't kicked in yet. Like, Nirvana hadn't kicked in yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the time, there's just this underground community of people around the world doing these shows, and it was exciting to us and our friends. And, you know, I just had this moment where I saw that show, I was like, this is it.
Yep,
this is what I'm going to do.
So you became a promoter.
Yep.
Let's start with Nirvana. You were ringing from a payphone in Bondi.
Mate.
Kurt Cobain's number.
You're kidding me.
Mate, I did the first show I did was a band called Mudhoney, and they were good mates with Nirvana, and they're like, you should bring our mates Nirvana to Australia. I'm like, mate, I love that. That Bleach album was out at the time.
Yeah.
And they're like, here's Kurt's number, here's Chris's number, call them up. So I, hey, mate, this is Pav from Australia. Would you like to come down here? I'm friends with Dan. They gave me a number. And they're like, oh, yeah, well, that sounds great. Sometime we're just making this album. I'm like, really? They said, just check back in a few months. And I'd met this girl in America in a bar, and she'd started working for AT&T operators and gave me one of those calling card numbers. So I'd go down the beach, have a swim, come back in my kit, dripping wet, sand on me, grab a juice, get the payphone at Bondi Beach Post Office, and call Nirvana.
Wow. That is extraordinary.
And that just went on and on for a year until eventually they said, we've got a manager, that new album's finished, it's called Nevermind. We want you to do our tour.
That's huge.
It's
Wow.
It's crazy.
And then what happened?
Well, then they came and they become the biggest band in the world, Sarah.
I mean, I knew
Where
that.
have you
but
been?
I meant more for you than what happened.
Tell me about when they did finally arrive, the time with Kurt and the band and what you did. Did you do much socially or?
Well, we did a lot. I took them camping down the south coast, which is one of my go-to and my kit of hosting tools.
Yeah.
And along the way, though, Courtney got involved and she's like, mate, you really think we're going camping? You get me and Kurt a hotel. So we were down the south coast, and the only hotel I could find was Bateman's Bay Motel. Awesome. So Kurt and Courtney went to the motel, and I've got the rest of the band down these little cabins down at North Durras or South Durras, and we take them out to see the kangaroos, have a campfire at night on the beach, drink some beers, make some jaffles, cook some sandwiches. Great.
So with the exhibition and all the memorabilia in there, is there anything that you've kept just quietly at home? Or I suppose I'm asking, what is the most prized possession you have?
Well, there's some sensitive photos that just wouldn't be right. When you have a relationship with these artists and you're there because they trust you.
Yep.
So you're given a position of trust, and, you know, you're allowed to document a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that some of those people would be a little disappointed if some of those pictures found their way on the World Wide Web. Yeah, exactly.
Did you keep in touch after they left? Like whenever?
Absolutely. You know, I became friends with a lot of these people with same age, same interests, and I would go to America, and then they felt obligated to host me. So then they'd show me around, and it was great.
Pav was asked, and when Kurt was there was a tough time for Kurt there, and they were recording more music. Pav was actually asked, can you look after Kurt for a week and make sure that he doesn't OD? That was your job for a week.
It was Courtney and the people around them, and he was making they did the heart-shaped box video, and they played MTV Awards, or they went to them, and so they said, Kurt's going to be on his own here for a few days or a week. Could you just make sure he doesn't OD? And I'm like, well, we'll pay you. I'm like, this is weird. So I call up Kurt. I'm like, mate, they want to pay me to hang out with you. And he's like, mate, just take the freaking money. Let's hang out.
Yeah.
So we had an adjoining room, and I would drive him around, and my job was make sure he didn't OD, but I never thought to ask anyone, what do I do if he does?
Yeah, that's right.
No idea.
If you go to this exhibition, there's Kurt Cobain's, it's the guitar from Unplugged, isn't it, Pat?
That's correct.
Which is the world's most expensive guitar now.
Well, that's true, and I found that out, and I recently did an interview with Dave Grohl when he was out playing in Geelong last time, and I'm like, Dave, have you ever picked up that guitar and does it sound or feel like $9 million? And he was like, are you kidding me? Someone paid $9 million. It does not sound like $9 million guitar.
When Nirvana came out here and you bought them here, were they commercial airtime? Were they being played across, the FM stations?
Mate, when they got here, they were the number one band in the world. And this is outside my sort of wheelhouse. And so I just get the run sheet of promo that the label wanted us to do. And we're in Canberra, and I look at it, there's like Kicks 106 radio interview. I'm like, I grew up here. That must be that building on the main drag. So I didn't even look again at it. And on the way to soundcheck, I reel them in there. I'm saying, hey, got Nirvana here for the interview. And they're like, oh, they look a bit surprised and weirded out. And the reception lady says, sit here. And next minute, they're whisked into the studio, and I'm outside the studio. I can hear it, and they're like, these guys are going, hey, you met any horror-y chicks? What do you realize? You're going to get some babes down here? And they were getting agitated. Yeah. And next minute, they're like, F-bomb this, and they kind of peel out of the studio. And they're like, mate, what a bunch of mancho wankers. We go, the gig. Flash forward, a few hours later, I'm standing next to the head of the record company, and some guy introduces to me the head of Kicks 106. Yeah. The band finished playing Come As You Are. Dave Grohl gets on there on the mic and says, mate, we did an interview at the worst radio station I've ever been in my life. It's called Kicks 106. What a bunch of idiots. And they say a lot of other, like F-bomb this, F-bomb that, and they can suck, blah, blah, blah.
Awesome.
And the guy looks at me and goes, what have you done, mate? I'm like, what are you talking about? I took them there. And he goes, mate, they didn't show up. I unwittingly took them to the wrong radio station.
Oh, no.
Which would be akin of these supposed to take. I'm taking them to the Fitzy and Wippa show, and I've taken them to Kyle and Jackie, and then I come out after, I'm like, mate, those Fitzy and Wippa guys, what a pair of wankers.
No.
Wow.
No.
That is gold.
How good is that?
It's just amazing, Pav. Like, it really just transported me back to the 90s, and I think a lot of people will love this exhibition. Go check it out. It will blow your mind. It's at the Powerhouse Museum. How long is it there for, Pav? How long are you sticking around for?
Mate, I can't believe the government want my crap in a museum for 8 months. Let's go on there till June.
Fantastic.
Great. Right. And the best thing about the Powerhouse Museum, you take the kids there as well, and then you can duck off and go see this. It's called Unpopular. Go check it out now. And Pav, thanks for coming in, legend.
Thanks for having me.
You're listening to the Fitzy and Wippa podcast.